Hidden Object Guru here with a look at some of the games I sampled in the past week. As always, I'll be rating them out of 10 based on how interested I am in playing more of them. Timerunner. A puzzle game disguised as a first-person shooter, this game presents players with situations in which civilians are going to be murdered by mercenaries, then lets them stop time to try and prevent the deaths. It works remarkably well. Players can move victims out of the way of oncoming shots, pluck bullets out of the air, and set up traps in front of enemies for them to step on just as time starts again. Some challenges are more difficult than others. Picking out which astronaut is a murderous imposter is always a challenge, but each new puzzle was a satisfying trial in its own way. Very excited to finish this later on. 8 out of 10. Starlight Explorers. This cute little space adventure has players playing with gravity wells as they investigate uncharted reaches of space. It's very simple gameplay. Players fire drones and watch how the planets and stars affect its path, then make minute adjustments and try again until they get the result they want. Visual novel-style cutscenes play between each puzzle, getting players involved in the story of a group of scientists traveling the stars. Basic, charming, and absolutely suitable for children. 6 out of 10. Tombkeeper Mansion Deluxe Pinball. While the tables in Tombkeeper Mansion lack the visual flair that the photorealistic pinball arcade tables have to offer, they're well designed with combos that are fairly simple to perform after a little bit of practice. Each table has its own suite of missions and activities, but the most impressive part is just how vertical all of the maps are. It's always nice when virtual pinball games do things that real-life games can't, such as virtual targets walking around the board or, in this case, buildings that stretch up past where the glass would stop them in an actual pinball machine. There are better computer pinball games out there, but this one is solid for the price. 3 out of 10. Frankenstorm. This game has a delightful premise. It's a tower defense game where players build the enemy's pathway for them, then place guns on the walls to crush their foes as they wind their way through the maze. It's clever, but it comes with a downside. The game is also a roguelite, and instead of any kind of a story mode, it only has endless maps, where the player continually improves their maze until a single enemy finally makes it past the defenses, at which point everything goes back to square one. The maze is built and armed by the player selecting cards between waves, and players can theoretically improve their stats between runs by buying cards permanently at the end of a run, but the currency they use is strangely difficult to obtain. Instead of just building up as the player kills enemies, they have to choose to get it between rounds, sacrificing their ability to fight the increasingly powerful enemies that turn up with each new wave. This makes progress feel painful, and since there's no greater goal they're moving towards, that hurts the experience overall. 6 out of 10. Egg King. I seem to be lucking out with rage games these days. Developers are actually giving players a bit of a hand in playing their games, without removing the need for skill, patience, and dedication. First, That Flipping Mountain, literally the best rage game I've ever played, and now Egg King, which also uses a targeting ray to fantastic effect. The game's story is a famously familiar one. A dragon steals the crown off of the Egg King's head, and then races on to retrieve it and become the new Egg King, because that is how monarchy works. It's short, it's challenging, there's a good amount of variety between levels, with each one requiring the player to learn a new skill. I was able to get through it in under an hour, and enjoyed every second of it, meaning it's an I beat it out of 10. Asteroids Recharged. Just like Centipede and Black Widow before it, I can't say enough good things about how this series is revitalizing classic arcade titles. The One Life arcade mode is fine, but once again the star of the show are the challenges, a series of minigames that play with the rules and mechanics of Asteroids in fascinating ways. Each one forces the player to rethink their approach to the game, as well as employ a variety of power-ups that fit in perfectly with the setting. It takes Asteroids, which was already a fantastic game, and adds dozens of gameplay innovations that feel like they should have been there all along. 9 out of 10. Oro the Bunny. A sadistic platformer without the excessive gore, Oro has the player running through ambitiously difficult stages in an attempt to collect a veritable armada of snack foods. While the platforming is tight, the level design is a little too exacting. I kept running up against jumps that required the kind of pixel-perfect precision that I wouldn't even expect from Super Meat Boy. There's also a blatantly unfair trap in the form of snares that are completely invisible other than a glint of light that flashes over them every 5 or 10 seconds. Inexcusable to have something like that in a game that's supposed to be about reflexes and skill. 3 out of 10. Monsters per Second. I'll be honest, I played this for half an hour and had no idea what I was doing at any point. The basic idea is that it's an ultra-difficult base defense game, that also requires the player to micromanage things as deep as aero production. If the game slowly taught players how to get into the world, it would be one thing, but on my first attempt I kept having my camp invaded after roughly 5 minutes of play. Were these goblins or slimes? It would be one thing, but I was besieged by giant dinosaurs with mantis arms, who had the ability to walk right through my spike log defenses with no hesitation. I don't know if it's poorly balanced or simply beyond me, but I can't see coming back for more. 2 out of 10. Motortown Behind the Wheel, Beta. Open world driving and taxi or shipping missions around a low poly island. When they get controller support working to the point where I can play this with my Xbox 360 controller, I might check in again. Attempting to drive with a keyboard was a nightmare. I don't anticipate trying again anytime soon. 2 out of 10. Super Clown, Lost Diamonds. This Mario-like is kind of a mess. The platforming physics work alright, but the collision with enemies is disastrously bad. The lack of any visual feedback makes it strangely difficult to tell if they've been injured. Also, the game is set mostly in a pre-made Unity maps that were purchased from a store, which is expected and even admirable, unless the player neglects to scale their characters so that they make sense in the pre-made world, which is profoundly not done here. I'd need to see a complete overhaul of this game to justify coming back. 1 out of 10. Looking for Aliens. I'm not normally a fan of the Where's Waldo type of hidden object game, but I found this one oddly charming. The setting, looking for alien tourists and adventurers who are busy exploring the Earth, is a nice change of pace, and the hint system is much better than I'm used to with games of this ilk. I'm already more than halfway through, so I'd be surprised if I didn't wrap this one up soon. 9 out of 10. That's it for this week. I've been the Hidden Object Guru, thanks for watching. If you hadn't yet, please like and subscribe. Special thanks to my patrons Marissa, Eduardo, Brian, and Joanne. I'll see you back here once I've played some more games, but until then, au revoir.